Joining us today to talk Common Core is Bill Roberts from the Idaho Statesman. So can you tell us the premise of your story?
Well, yes, I can. There are essentially in Idaho right now sort of two Common Cores. There is the Common Core being debated up in the legislatures, being poked and prodded. People are having questions about it and some people want to dump it. But Idaho's law is the Common Core is being taught in the classroom. That has already been taken care of and was done in 2010-11. And so what I did was go into the classroom and say, this has been in classrooms for 6 months to a year. We wanted to know what was working and what wasn't, and how it has changed the classroom.
And so what did you find?
I think the thing that I found that struck me the most is that the classroom looks a lot different. The days when the teacher stood up at the blackboard and did a problem and showed you how to do it, gave you 50 more and said go home and do it, then bring them back and we'll move on, have been replaced. Right now there's a lot more what you call collaborative learning. People are working in groups and trying to solve problems, kids are. The other thing I think is so interesting is that they are making real world application a very high priority. And one of the schools I looked at, Heritage Middle School in Meridian, I talked with a group of 7th grade kids and the teacher who are learning about interest rates and percentages and proportion through a study about credit cards. And they had to begin by helping kids understand the difference between a credit card and a debit card. Then they had to talk about how do you do interest? How do you do APRs? How do you calculate an APR? So with all this math with a very real world piece to it.
And what else did you find? I know you mentioned textbooks before.
Textbooks are an interesting situation. Most of the textbooks, particularly in the Meridian and Boise School District, are several years old. All textbook purchases essentially stopped during the recession. And those textbooks are pre-Common Core. And with this emphasis on now trying to get kids to understand concept and not just get a bunch of facts in their head, which is the way we were kind of doing education before. A lot of the textbooks that are there now don't really approach that. As one of the teacher with the credit card said, I can't go get a lesson on credit cards in the textbook. So running to the textbook is not really an option for a lot of these districts. So you will find teachers busy on the internet, scrolling through things, contacting other districts, contacting other states, looking for materials that they can bring together that sort of form this basis of how we're going to teach this in this new Common Core way, which in addition to this sense of real world application is what they call this sense of deeper understanding. And let me give you an example. It used to be when you did a multiplication problem, teacher would tell you, 4 times 7 is 28, put down the 8 and carry the 2 or whatever. They don't do that anymore. They let you find your way eventually to that place. So an early math problem on multiplication could look like a giant addition problem. And eventually kids get down to it, but they understand that. And then they begin to work down to the way we are used to doing it. And you don't necessarily find that in the textbooks. So I talked with some researchers who said that a lot of the textbooks coming out now that claim to be Common Core don't have all of this sort of thing. And that it's going to be a very tough problem for schools to sort of ferret through all of this and find the ones that are there. Meanwhile, districts are busy compiling instructional materials and putting things together that will help teachers. And one of the teachers I talked to spends a couple of hours a day on the internet looking for classroom type assignments that will work with what it is that he is trying to teach. So it's a big issue for them to have those instructional materials. And one of the superintendents said that's the biggest job that they have ahead of them right now.
Now, going back to you talking about learning how to learn, it sounds like we've heard concerns that Common Core is about teaching to the test, and it's all about the test. Was that your impression? Was that the teacher's impression?
Teaching to the test is an interesting phrase. In one way, you have a set of standards, and you want to teach that, and the test should hopefully reflect that. And I think that's what they're trying to do. But the test here is a real issue. Because this test is vastly, and you can go online and take this test. Every single grade, the smarter balanced people that put the thing together have the test, and you can go see exactly what they look like. They're sample questions. They're much more difficult than the old Idaho test that we used to do, the ISAT that we used to do, which were just multiple choice. So this calls for a lot more decision making in your brain, a lot more explaining what you do, not just showing that you know the right answer. And so teachers are very concerned. And where this test has been given, places like Kentucky and elsewhere, initially, test scores dropped considerably. And so there is concern about this test. In fact, one of the things in the training issues that teachers need to understand more about the form the questions come, just so they can prepare students to say, you know, it's not going to be pick A, B, C, or D. And so I think that's an issue, that you're going to have to write a response and you're going to have to bring your own brain to this. It's not going to just be something that is labeled out for you to just, you know, pick an answer. One of the best places is in the question of writing. The ISAT test used to have you read a piece and then you would take a multiple choice and pick an answer. And they got a lot of criticism for, well, what does that teach about writing? Well, now you will read maybe 3/4 of a story and then it's unfinished, and the test is finish the story. So now you're having to do the actual writing. Somebody once described it to me as it's a difference between going to the driver's license bureau and passing the test and then getting behind the wheel of the car and actually driving. So these things are of concern, and it's one of the things that teachers say they need a lot more information on. Teaching to the test, in other words, trying to feed answers or get that sort of thing, no, I don't think that's what we're talking about. But we are talking about a different and much more rigorous set of boundaries here.
Now, with those new boundaries and with these new approaches, do we know yet if this works? Are there any metrics or any way to measure the success on this?
You know, my sense is we don't know in Idaho yet. And part of the reason is we haven't taken the test. And we're going to take the first test in spring. And that's really a test of the test. It's going to be, I don't know, the Smarter Balance Consortium, this group of 23 states that has put this together, has something like 22,000 questions that they need field tested so they can figure out which one's good and which one's bad. And basically what happens in spring is they do that. Parents aren't going to get test scores, kids aren't, teachers aren't, districts aren't. Nobody's going to know how anybody did because it's not really a valid test in the sense that all these questions will have been vetted. So we really won't know what's going on really until 2014-15 when those first set of tests come out. But over at the State Department of Education, they are right up front lowering expectations. They are saying, test scores could very easily be lower, and be ready for that. They are not trying to say this is the be all and end all and we're all just going to sail. They're saying it's a much more rigorous test. It's much more demanding. So don't necessarily expect us to sail through when 14-15 when that test score really counts.
What was your impression? Do you think this is the way to go? Is this going to be successful, or is it a wait and see?
I can tell you what a lot of the teachers I talk to really like it. They really like it because it gives them a chance to step away from just being up there in front of the board. I'm sure there are a few educators that don't like it, and I would understand that. But most of the teachers I talk to think that this is just the way they should have been teaching all the way along. There was a lot of dissatisfaction with the old ISAT under No Child Left Behind, because what you were doing was imparting information to stick in a kid's head and have him regurgitate it at test time. And that's all it was, or not all it was, but largely what it was. And now we're saying we want you to have a deeper understanding of what's going on. We want you to bring critical thinking, bring a piece of your own brain to this. And that's a really different concept. I can't tell whether this is the be-all and end-all. You know, in education, we jokingly refer to the fad of the day or the fad of the year. Somebody's found a new way to teach something, and off we go. And then, a month later or 2 years or 3 years later, we go, well, that didn't work. And I don't know if this is a fad or not, or whether this is really deep and intrinsic down to that level. And we're going to have to see. I mean, part of the thing is this is new to everybody. I mean, even the teachers who have been doing this for a year, year and a half, 2 years, will tell you, I still need more information. I still need more training. I still need more help. So I think it's an experiment, but it's certainly vastly different from where we've been.
Well, great. Thanks so much for joining us. And where can we see your story?
My story is going to be in the paper on Sunday, and it's also going to be online at the IdahoStatesman.com.
IdahoStatesman.com. Thank you so much for joining us. And to get the student perspective, we went back to school and followed a young lady named Stella as she took classes at North Junior High.
Get here around 7:30, go to my locker, get my stuff, say hi to friends, and then head right to first period, which is French. Je m'appelle Stella.
She's very engaged, very curious, still okay with doing things she's not good at, hasn't completely shut down from only wanting to do that which she excels in.
Chante mon Esmeralda. Au revoir, madame. Bell rings and we have 2 to 3 minutes to get to a next class. I don't think you had to write anything down. I just think we have to talk about it. So maybe like write a summary.
That the Common Core standard, come to discussions prepared. My hope is that you're prepared today, right? You've read this article.
So it's all very, I don't know, collaborative.
And that's what's nice about Common Core is that you can take what you're doing in your curriculum and you can emphasize skills. You know, I can do any curriculum, any unit, any story, and I can work on certain skills.
I guess we could all just say a little piece of it. Yeah. So Erica, do you want to say the first part, like the November 9th, 1938? Okay, Lucy, why don't you say what the night was called, Kristallnacht, and why it was called that? What after Kristallnacht, 30,000 German Jewish men were arrested for the crime of being Jewish and sent to concentration camps. I think it kind of pushes us to understand what we're learning more deeply. You have to go over there.
You're supposed to spread out around.
I know, but we're the ones who are reading and you have to listen and take notes from us.
If there is something that was unclear to you that is on this study guide, you need to ask them after they're done discussing.
After Kristallnacht, German and Austrian Jewish children faced even more problems. They became segregated from swimming pools, public playgrounds, museums, and public schools.
Before Common Core, people looked at minutia, so you might be testing and wanting them to know certain facts from the Holocaust. I want them to have overarching ideas.
What I think is most important is that when Stella's not home, that she has a relatively strong adult support system. She does best in her education when her adult teachers, peers, mentors, all of the adults recognize and celebrate her skills.
How does, go to break with my friends, and usually we're all cramming for the next test we have, if we have a test. School is very important to my friends. Doing well in school is very important. We do care about our grades, we do care about being good students, I would say. And so if we kind of discuss school with each other, that helps out. I think we're scared that we're not going to get into college when we're older. Honestly, we're scared about not being successful. I was thinking about this the other day. I was thinking about, wow, I'm in 8th grade, and my grades aren't going on my high school transcript yet, but I'm still freaking out about all my assignments I need to do, getting really worried about tests that I haven't studied for. Just, there's a certain amount of pressure or need to always have something done and done to the fullest, which isn't always a bad thing, but it can be very stressful.
Yeah, we were executing our own people like crazy.
Get these introduction sheets every new unit that we have, and it's kind of just a compilation of notes that Mr. Blaine has for us. And by the end of the unit, he expects that students will be able to define these terms, understand these concepts. So we're constantly working on those, and we do a lot of online work. Like, we work a lot from online books and School Fusion, which is like the website that North is on. For me, it's hard because it's a computer, and I don't always like working on a computer. Technology hasn't always been my best friend when it comes to school. But he does a really good job of having the technological side of it and then the classical teacher style. He likes speaking to us, likes talking to us about what we're learning. He has great stories that he doesn't really make up, but he like lets us peek in onto what was happening in that point in time. I feel like I would do a lot better if we used different ways to show our knowledge. I don't know if that makes sense, but of course we have the presentation, the test, and then like the written essay. Testing in general, it can be a little bit weird sometimes. I don't really know how to explain it. Just when I look at the test and I think back to what I've learned, I feel like I have a really great understanding of the subject, but I just can't take the test as well as I know it. I see that they're trying to weed out some of the other subjects that are like extra subjects, maybe, I don't know. But it's definitely focused on math, science, and then English. Math and English are really, really the strong subjects that we have to have. And
right now, first year of Common Core, I see that they talk about the masses and they're elevating the masses without, without the individual needs at this point. And that's what we're doing as a family, helping to provide those things for Stella.
Everything has become accelerated now. All classes are accelerated.
I just feel that if everything is accelerated now, that it just kind of muted down what accelerated means.
But the classes here, they push you to understand something more fully than you would probably think of a public school.